Welcome back to the Chrysalis Key Read-a-long. In this 5th episode, we're talking about chapters 22 through to 27. Okay, so Hugh has another scene in chapter 22, and what happened to him is super crazy, I think. And honestly, those mushrooms, I'm terrified of them. You don't even want to know what they're like when they're awake. With chapter 23, Julia comes across someone interesting in the jungles of Chrysalis. She's always coming upon interesting or weird situations, and even despite that, she's totally motivated to get back to Breakfast Creek. She's not interested at all in much to do with this new world. In chapters 24 and 25, we get to see some of my favourite scenes with everyone returning to Chrysalis School or coming to look upon it for the first time to apply for a teaching position. I just loved seeing everyone arrive, even the darker people, as we see in Aiden's chapter. And speaking of Aiden, we get to see what he's been thinking of doing. It's pretty game for him, but we'll have to see where he goes with it. And importantly, we got to see the return of Clementine, Greenbone and Tallingway to Chrysalis after 55 years, or technically just 5 years of awake time. The idea that a bunch of innocent-looking elderly people were secretly powerful sorcerers with hidden lives had me really inspired. I just love that idea. I think it's an extension of the idea that when some of us, especially younger people, look at people in their 70s and upwards, we're quick to judge by appearances. But people are multi-layered and complex beings, and some more than others, and it's just something I think about often. So we have so many revelations in this section, and with this last chapter with Henry, we get to see him have an interesting interaction with the architect and learn something pretty unexpected about the Red General and what's been happening with him. So that's a bit confusing. And we get to see them return to Breakfast Creek finally. And Henry also does a bit of unexpected magic to save everyone and is super freaked out by it. But finally, back they go to Julia's joy, back to their old town to see what's been going on there since they left 2.5 days ago. Now, this idea of a portal being in the middle of this park, my editor was like, why is it in this park and why is it in this lake? That's really weird. Why does it have to be there? We do come across the reason why Clementine had to put it there. It is a park behind the retirement home, and as we saw with the derelict building of Breakfast Creek High, making a portal can damage the area around it or change the area around it, so it seemed like a logical choice for her to choose that bit of land, and no one would be able to come across it by accident if it was in a portal. And this idea actually came to me from, again, my childhood. Behind our house, we lived in a big estate in southeast Melbourne when I was in primary school, and between our school and my house there was this really huge patch of land. We called it the basin, and it was like a big sloping bit of land that sloped in towards and formed like a little it was quite a big bowl actually, and in summer you could roll around in it, kids would play down there. But in the rainy seasons, or when it would rain a lot, the inside of it would fill up with water and it would become like a muddy sort of little lake. And a lot of us were fascinated by this land. It's a pretty weird thing that we'd never seen before, and I've never seen again since. It was just a strange bowl, weird basin, and it had like a path around so that we could walk safely around it, but it was just a random part of our environment that was really weird. And my little creative mind as a kid was always thinking that something weird could be going on there, and once or twice I did think that it could be like a portal down there, and a portal that could only come about certain times of the year. So, when it was raining, that's when the only time you could access it would be when there was a pool of water in there, and otherwise you wouldn't be able to access it. So this is something that I thought of every time I walked past the basin near my primary school, and so I think that's where my mind was going when I thought about the lake portal to Chrysalis. I kind of had the same thing in the back of my mind, and as a kid there were weird patches in Melbourne of like a lot of land. At least here conservation is pretty good. The government really does try, and in Brisbane it's even better. Like there's so much grass and parkland here, and that's what I really do love about both Brisbane and Melbourne. more so in Brisbane. So with that, we're officially halfway, and technically more than a little halfway, but we have come to the end of part 1 of this story, and onwards we venture into part 2, and I can't wait for you guys to see what happens next. So happy reading, and I will see you very soon.